I was invited to be a guest chazan at a local shul. This is interesting because I'm often invited to be a guest rabbi, but I've actually never been invited to be a guest chazan before. But I like to be a little bit of a bal tefillah on occasion. Been known to do that. My father's a bal tefillah. So I graciously accepted this opportunity. So I actually davened shachris in one locale, and then I had organized what time Musaf would be in the other locale, and I moseyed my way over to daven Musaf. And in fact, even when I arrived at the shul, so I spoke to the person that invited me, and we had organized, or he had shared with me kind of the type of davening he wanted me to lead, something that would be inclusive and that would be inspiring, get other people to daven along. And then right after the Haftorah, when it was time for Musaf, I noticed that there's another gentleman who's making his way up to the Amud, and he begins to daven Musaf. So I was kind of like, what's going on here? So everybody's like looking around, etc. So apparently there was like a miscommunication, and the Gabbai was never notified that I was coming as the guest bal tefillah. So despite my efforts to come to be the bal tefillah, unfortunately I didn't get to lead the davening. This reminded me, actually, this goes back probably about, probably like 5-6 years ago. I was a scholar in residence for Rosh Hashanah at a hotel. And there was an older rabbi who was also a scholar in residence. We were there together. And in advance, we kind of organized like which day the drushes were going to be, who was going to speak when. At least the organizer of the program had done that. And a similar thing happened. When I got up the second day of Rosh Hashanah to give my drasha, this senior rabbi who, Zichrono Livracha, he's no longer in this world, but he actually got up, and before I got to the pulpit, he grabbed the pulpit and he gave like a whole 25 half-hour drasha, and he basically swiped the pulpit from under me. So this was kind of reminded me the second time that I was preparing to do something and it didn't actually come to fruition. So the question is like, what's the Musar Haskell? What's the takeaway? What's the message when these things happen? So I think it's really just emblematic of life, that many times in life, we prepare to do certain things. We anticipate things are going to happen a certain way. And then we get a curveball. Things don't go exactly the way that we anticipate or that we hope. Now, the stakes were not particularly high in either of these two contexts, and I was able to kind of just be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, maybe I wasted a little time preparing, or maybe, for the drasha, and okay, like the davening really was no sweat off my back other than kind of making this special trip over to the shul. But I think it's a good lesson in life. It's not so much kind of like what happens to us, but it's more kind of how we react to what happens to us. And many times things don't go exactly the way we want them to do, but the real challenge or the real opportunity is kind of to take it in stride, to be as chilled as possible, to be able to be mavater, to be able to kind of let things go, to let things roll off our back, and not to take ourselves so seriously, not to take life so seriously. And there'll be other opportunities. Be'ez Hashem.